I've been reviewing a lot of budget solutions here on the channel, but let's say if you have a huge budget for a mini PC and you want to have overall great performance for emulation. But in this video we're also going to chit chat about the Batocera and the solution, what you can actually do with this. So I have made a full Windows video about the Beelink GTR with emulation performance, but also when it comes to gaming. But the question remains, what can we do when it comes to the Batocera Linux? You can install Batocera on all kinds of, let's say, form factors, including an SSD. The unfortunate thing is the SSD doesn't fit inside the machine. I will show you later on what I mean with this. So it is a possibility, but you need to use it externally. So one of the things you can go to is buying an NVMe and installing Batocera on this and having really fast loading speeds and having them completely, let's say, ready to go build. Or you just get yourself a simple USB stick, can be any size, and depends of course how much stuff you want to store in this. This is 4 GB, but just for example, you can just load some Batocera on there and just plug this thing in and just start it up. I can plug it out and go back to Windows. So this can be a very easy plug and play solution, but it's going to be expensive if you're getting a very huge USB stick. PokePad, Kinhank, they all made a hard drive. Basically it's just a it's a 500 GB, 1 TB and 2 TB drive. Sometimes they do use older, let's say, Batocera images, so it's also better to get the size of the latest model, and you can just plug it into your USB port and just start up into Batocera and play some games. So the combination of this is absolutely great. So when you're going to be plugging this thing in, it can be at the front. The most convenient will be at the back, of course. But what you're getting is just powering on. It will load up into the Batocera image and you have yourself an amazing overall, let's say, beast of an emulation machine. And of course, what I do love about this thing is the way how it's built. So let's do a quick teardown and I show you the different methods you can use for installing Batocera on this. You can remove the bottom plate. Also, I upgraded it with mine because I got a replacement part due of, let's say, better overall performance for the cooling. But when you're removing the piece of plastic with the fan and the passive part of the cooling, that it will be used for the NVMe's. And this is actually what we're having inside of it. So we not have the option to put in a 2.5-inch SSD or a hard drive, but we do have the option to replace the original NVMe or just put another one next to it. So you can, in this case, boot up Batocera or Windows. Specification wise, this thing is absolutely a beast with the 7840HS from the AMD. Nevertheless, it comes with the Radeon 780M and of course pre-installed with some Windows 11, 1 TB of storage that we're not going to be using because it's only for Windows, 32 GB of memory. So that's everything what we're going to be needing. So slap on this hard drive and let's boot it up. We're only having 3 ways to play: is entering an NVMe, having a USB drive you can plug it in, or a hard drive itself. But of course a hard drive is the most cheapest one to go to, and if you have a 1 and 2 TB, they're still affordable as making this video. You can flash it, add your games to these things and have a lot of cool fun and just plug it in. And you have all these external junk, you don't need it, and you have yourself an absolutely great gaming beast. But okay, so let's plug it in and let's boot up some Batocera and let's test out, and I'm showcasing you what you can actually do with this machine. Whenever you have set up your Batocera image, we have so many stuff you can actually play. So yep, you can play all kinds of old school retro games. Think about the 8-bit, 16-bit, like a Super NES, that's no problem whatsoever. So this is not what we're going to be focusing on this video. But so what we're going to be looking into is like the later systems. So if you're not really interested, let's say, in the latest system, think about an Xbox Classic. I can tell you, you can better get yourself a device that costs like $16 or all the way up to $90, and you have like tons of fun with that. But basically, what you also can do with this is upscale. In other words, the rendering resolution is going to be way higher and everything looks so much better. I think that is one of those potential things you're getting with such a powerful device. So let's start with it and let's have some fun. I'll give you an example. One be in the Dreamcast list. Here we can hold the A button. And we're having this single game that can be adjusted with the advanced games options. In here we're finding different kind of, let's say, emulators. Normally it has been set to auto. We're going to choose Libretto Flycast. And let's see if we can go into the upscaling option. So rendering resolution. So let's put this thing on 4K resolution or 3840 by 2880. And let's boot up the game. But let's take a close look at the system settings with the device, simply because I just wanted to showcase actually what having in the inside. So here we go into the information, and you can see that this temperature is around 40 Celsius. This thing has been running for quite a long time now. So they have the model GTR Linux version 6.3.6, And of course we're having OpenGL, and then we are also having the very powerful AMD Ryzen graphics in the inside that will help this thing absolutely. Overall, so this thing is a CPU number of 16. It seems to be running on 3.8 gigahertz or 30,800 megahertz. So this thing is absolutely a beast when it comes to it. So the Radeon 780M graphics, and with the AMD Ryzen 7 7840HS. And this is a great example that you cannot do with a cheaper mini PC. With such amazing power, we have absolutely not a great responsibility. No, we have absolutely crazy rendering resolutions. 4K Sega Dreamcast without any problem whatsoever. So you can throw everything at it. So far, the emulator has a great compatibility with the game. We're going to have a lot of fun. So moving on to some Sega Saturn, and also here 4K rendering resolution, playing some Die Hard Arcade, and it seems to be running so far so great. It's absolutely cool to see though. The game still looks absolutely horrible. Some of the games don't really age with that well, but beside that point, it's kind of cool. I've been testing this out with cheaper, let's say mini PCs. Mostly you're getting 1080p if you're finding that good enough, but it's kind of cool to see this in 4K resolution, especially when you're playing this on the big screen. It looks so much better. Man, this is absolutely classic, by the way. The Die Hard Arcade. The way how you need to fight it. I'm getting some Fighting Force vibes over here. Come on, there we go. We're going to play Roadhouse. Roadhouse. I'm just going to kick everything. Roadhouse. Oh boy, Destruction Derby is absolutely one of those nostalgia games. Did you even know you can link it up to a PlayStation? I should make a video about that. That's absolutely cool. I've been playing that back in the day and it was so much fun. That was, by the way, my first game that I actually got on my first PlayStation. So you understand, this is absolutely pure nostalgia for me. But upscaling this to 4K is absolutely nuts. And that is what I actually wanted to say with these videos. Is that you can just play all of these games on super high resolution without any problem. Of course, you will pay a premium price with chips like this, but if these mini PCs are getting cheaper in the future, if you're watching this maybe over a couple of years on a video, you need to think about it. It's going to be crazy. You can buy these things for cheap and can play all of these games full speed, 60 frames per second on 4K rendering resolution, and it runs without any problem. But let's move on to some PlayStation 2 and make it more challenging. Okay, but next up, PlayStation 2 and also 4K resolution. Let's see. I've been testing out a lot of these mini PCs, and with PlayStation 2 we also hit a barrier where we couldn't play it on, let's say, 1080p or just on 1080p, and with this we can even render it on 4K. You do see a minor hiccup here and there. That is something that is forgivable. You can always put it on 2K resolution, but that's it. So far I am quite satisfied with the overall results. So one of the things I find always very interesting is that we're having a fast CPU-GPU combination, but particularly the CPU will give us not, let's say, long loading times. We need to wait for the PlayStation 3 games actually to load up and to boot up, but when it does, and depending on the CPU and also with Batocera, and overall, I can tell you we're going to have like fast loading times. So let's get into the gameplay and let's see how this actually works out. But let's take a close look at some PlayStation 3. Depending on what kind of game you're playing, you're also going to get different results. So where the Castlevania game over here runs on just native resolution quite nice, I've noticed some glitches and weird thing going on. In the beginning I didn't record it, but the overall performance, I don't know what to think of. It runs absolutely great on this machine, but still, you really need to take consideration what kind of emulator you're having, what kind of game you want to play. But the performance so far seems to be looking good. So with some F-Zero GX on the GameCube, one of the more difficult games to emulate. And it's, by the way, my first game I've ever bought for the GameCube, and I still own it and I still love it. But on emulation it looks so much better. This is on 4K resolution rendering. It's going to be absolutely epic. So let's get into the game and let's see how it actually plays. But you know what's kind of funny is that I have a GameCube, fully modeled, 80 HDMI, everything on it. But I'd rather to play an emulation at this point, simply because this looks so much better when you're plugging this on a 4K television. This is absolutely the way how you should experience some retro games. And that is the thing why you need to consider if you're having there's some money to spend, you want to play some newer generation games on rendering resolutions like 4K. then we need the power of a Beelink GTR. But if you don't really care about these things, you can just do the same thing with a way cheaper model. I don't need to spend so much more money on it. But as you can see, I don't have any problem. In the beginning I did have some minor hiccups, but nothing really bad. But PlayStation Portable is one of those systems that can be played now on, let's say, low-end PCs. And still, when you're looking into, let's say, the 7th generation AMD that we're having over here, this looks absolutely amazing on 4K, runs perfectly. So the minor hiccups you noticed, that is something that do happen with almost, I think, every single PC I've tested for now on Batocera. But 4K render resolution, even with the God of War games, that don't need to be a problem whatsoever. The GTR is not the most cheapest device out there, but it does come with a lot of possibilities. Now in this video we tested out Batocera, and combined with Batocera it runs absolutely cool and we have a lot of stuff we can play. But of course we also test out all kinds of different games when it comes to the Windows part. I did a separate video about that, so consider checking out the other video if you're also interested in the Windows part and what can you actually play. I was just overall surprised how good everything runs on the Windows part for just some AAA gaming. Of course you cannot really compare this with, let's say, a high-end gaming machine with a dedicated GPU like an Nvidia RTX 3060 Ti, but there is so much actually you can play when it comes to this. Also the emulation part was great on the Windows, but I want to dedicate a video with Batocera because you can actually build a completely dedicated retro gaming machine. But if you still want to have power but don't want to pay the same price amount, GMT Tech is one of those companies that also have the AMD Ryzen 7 series or the 7000 series with the AMD Ryzen number 9, but not for, let's say, the same amount of money like the Beelink. It's an overall more like a plastic fantastic case with less USB ports, so this is just more like a cheaper solution but still have a lot of power, so we can play a lot of games on higher resolutions. So in the end, I want to thank you all for watching, consider subscribing and hit the little bell, and it would be great just to see you in the next video.